How does language impact your life?
I think language impacts my everyday life. I think language is important. It's important to have open dialogue, to be able to understand people, their backgrounds, their cultures, and to be able to appreciate them better and live together in a peaceful, understanding social environment.
Language allows me to communicate with people and tell them how I feel. Also, I think a great thing about language, it's sometimes you can be very abstract with it, and you don't have to completely bluntly say what you mean. You can give an underlining message, and sometimes that's even more powerful.
I personally have felt targeted by language when specific people use slurs, such as the word fag, against certain groups of people, obviously, and it doesn't feel good, but obviously a lot of people, whether they do it maliciously or accidentally, don't really understand the full impact that it has in targeting specifically myself or other people.
To offend my physical appearance. I used to have pretty long hair, and they would say things like, "Oh, you look like a Powerpuff Girl," stuff like that.
The only time that I specifically feel targeted by language I hear is when I hear people use the word pussy in a negative way, and I feel as if that is totally like putting women down, and so I feel put down when people use
I don't
that.
speak Spanish, being Mexican, I feel like in a way I'm disconnected from, a part of my culture, and it's to me it's a real tragedy, and if there was a way I could bridge the gap, I mean obviously by speaking Spanish, but
It's really hard at times to be able to try and be a functioning member of society when there's just so many people using racial slurs against you and basically these microaggressions that you are constantly hounded by on your day-to-day basis. It really hurts.
Try not to take any offense when people use malicious language toward me. My persona is in no way influenced or affected by
Do you
others.
ever find yourself using language that indirectly discriminates against another?
As much as I'd like to say no, I do. And I think a lot of times it's where we've grown up, and in my experience it is where I grew up, and people use microaggressions and discriminatory language in order to justify a sense of fear. And I think it's important for us to be cautious and aware of this, of those patterns, and really focus on changing them, and to be conscious when we speak and the way that we use language.
I think it's really common today to misuse language, especially as far as how we talk as, millennials. So I think a lot of times we're like, oh, that's so gay, or like, oh, you bitch, or like, I don't know, like, oh, you're such a faggot. A lot of those words, I know sometimes I won't necessarily say faggot, but as far as calling someone a bitch, even though it's in a nice manner, we do that, and I think sometimes that takes away the power of the word, and at the same time makes it okay for other people to call us, bitches or sluts or something negative.
I probably have, but again, it's not direct because it's not something that you mean to do, and it's not like you're trying to be offensive. It's just that a lot of the time you tend to make associations, and these associations, they're foreign because you may agree or may not agree. There's some truth to them, but nonetheless it doesn't make them any more right.
So I try not to, but there are some times I do slip up. The most common one that I use is tiene el nopal en la frente. So basically in English translated, that means he has a cactus on his front, and that's basically like someone who looks traditionally Hispanic, dark skinned and black haired. I feel very bad for using that, so I try not to use it as much, but there's times where I do catch myself saying it and I'm like, hey, bad.
I have probably used targeting language indirectly with the use of words like maybe like bitch or something, but it's never meant to be malicious, and I feel like when I use it in just an everyday context jokingly to friends, it kind of takes away the power of the word.